Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Today I want to talk about the economy, specifically Trump and the economy and some potential problems for him in the future because of what's happening in the economy right now, which may be a harbinger of a declining economy, which is going to hurt Trump in the 2020 election. Now, before I get into my comments, I'm going to quote quite a bit from David Goldman. He also writes under a pseudonym of Spangler. I suggest to everybody that you just Google Spangler or David Goldman and read anything he writes. He has a lot of insights. I don't always agree with him, but he did raise some interesting points in this article. Well, here's the headline. Forget the impeachment circus. Republicans need to worry about the economy. On July 19th, 2018, I, meaning Goldman, warned that Trump's trade war would backfire. Today we heard that the National Association of Purchasing Managers' Industrial Production Index had fallen to the lowest level since June of 2009. We are in a manufacturing recession, according to the Federal Reserve. Factory output is contracting. Now, this is important. Trump won in 2016 by carrying key manufacturing states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin. This blunder, meaning the trade war with China, could lose him the election. This is much more dangerous than the impeachment masquerade. Americans really don't care about Ukraine, but they do care about their jobs. The president is trying to deflect blame onto the Federal Reserve, but he's not fooling anybody. This is one point. I'm jumping in here. I'll talk more about it later. But Trump has a tendency to blame other people for things that go wrong. When it comes to the economy, he seems to bash the Fed all the time. That seems to be his go-to argument when things are not looking good, when a poor economic figure comes out. He just tweeted today, I'm right, the Fed did not lower interest rates enough or soon enough, and look what happened. I'm going to talk more about this. Well, if I have time, I'm going to talk more about it. Depends how long this particular vlog is. But you have to remember that Trump has been saying, and he's right, that the media have been talking down the economy. They have been talking incessantly about the potential for a recession, and he has been saying, and he is correct, that the people are not being fooled. They can see through that. They can look at what the economy is doing. They can see it from their own experience, their own daily experiences. So they know if the economy is good when the media says that it's bad. Now, the problem for Trump is that it's a double-edged sword. That same concept applies to Donald Trump, that if the economy is bad, if the economy is slowing, if people are losing their jobs or the growth in employment is slowing, people will notice that. And if Donald Trump says that the economy is great, that the economy is doing really well, when people know, well, that's my point. He's not going to fool anybody. If the economy is bad, he's not going to fool anybody. People will know it. And if he's claiming that we have a great economy when we have a bad economy going into the election, as I said, he won't fool anybody, number one. Number two, the public will not forgive him. Other factors will have to outweigh the economy if it's bad in order to get him elected. And hopefully, and in fairness, Elizabeth Warren presidency, the prospects of that, that's a pretty good incentive to vote for Donald Trump to prevent that from happening, which is what Goldman is about to say as soon as I get to the quote. Well, let me read it right now. I hate being right about this sort of thing because I want to see Trump reelected, and I'm horrified at what a Democratic victory in 2020 would do to this country. Nonetheless, I'm going to tell you, I told you so. Tariffs don't work. We need, and this is his solution that he suggested a number of times, of what we really need to do about China is, never mind the trade war, what we should do is we need a JFK or Reagan-style mobilization of our technological and human resources to force the advancement of U.S. technology and maintain our preeminent position before the Chinese pull past us. That's what won the Cold War. It's what we're good at, and it's the only policy that will work. But getting back to the economy, the manufacturing index is 47 point something or other. It's the worst since 2009, which was the recession. It's probably what got Obama elected, helped to get him elected, the recession when he came into office. Now, the figure to remember is 50%. Anything below 50% means a contraction in manufacturing. Now, the big figure to watch for is Friday. Friday is going to be the employment figures for last month, for September. If that comes in, well, we already had today the stock market, last time I checked, the Dow was down 500 points after being down 300 something points yesterday, which was when this figure came out about manufacturing index decline. This Friday, just a few days from now, we're going to get the employment figures, and if that is bad too, I can, number one, guarantee you that the stock market is going to drop. So my advice, if any of you are traders out there watching this, don't do anything on Friday until this figure comes out. It'll probably come out at 8:30 in the morning, so hopefully you're not in the market. You're not trading before hours when the market opens at 9:30, but be careful, it could be a wild ride. But what I'm getting at is that if Trump just ignores the figure, or if he bashes the Fed, I think, well, maybe he'll get away with it on Friday, and we'll see what the figures are in the future. But if we continue to see figures like this and he just ignores it, then he'll basically be doing what we accuse our Democratic friends of doing sometimes, or at least the ones in the media, of thinking that the American people are stupid, that they don't notice when things are bad, when people are saying they're good, just as our Democratic friends believe that people don't know when things are good if the media and Democrats are saying that things are bad. Now, the problem with, well, you can almost predict what Trump is going to do. He's going to say we have to lower interest rates, and that's probably going to happen because we did a quarter point last time, so a quarter point is pretty reasonable. They were hoping, the economic people, the Wall Street gurus, they were hoping for a half a point the last time, so it would not be a big deal to do a quarter point again. But one of the reasons we're doing this, and you have to remember, this harkens back actually to the video I did yesterday when I was talking about the Reagan economy, and the commenter Lynn777, I think it was, saying how great the economy was under Clinton. And I said that that's true in both cases. We had a great economy under Reagan. We had a great economy under Clinton. But what's important to remember is that interest rates in both of those cases were much higher than they are today. We can have rapid economic growth with higher interest rates. Conversely, if you have a slow economy, there could be all kinds of factors. I think the trade war, I think that Goldman exaggerates a little bit. He's on this subject a lot about China. He's worried about China, and he speaks from experience. He used to head the fixed income division of Credit Suisse, I think. I'm not sure which bank it was, but he is a world traveler. He's a world authority. He travels a lot, and he's been to China several times, and he's even consulted with Chinese officials. So his opinion matters, which is why I suggest that you all read him. But I think he may be, this is where I don't always agree with him, he may be exaggerating the threat of China or the power of China, because they are having problems too. That's the problem with this trade war. But when Trump says that on our side that the consumer is not paying for the tariffs, that's not true. And that irritates me because it is true. We are paying for the tariffs. Maybe not as much as we would if China were not manipulating their currency, eating part of the difference, but we are paying. It's becoming less and less deniable. He's already granted some exceptions, Trump has, to certain companies such as Apple, because he recognizes but doesn't want to say that it is hurting the consumer, it's hurting our companies. Now, hopefully there will be a deal. China, again, I think is doing worse. They have a lot of problems. If you've been watching Hong Kong just today, they are having very serious riots there now, violence over there. An 18-year-old high school student was shot in the chest the other day, the first time live ammunition was used on somebody. So they have their problems too. So there could be a lot of factors, but what I'm getting at is one of the reasons that one of the arguments for lowering our interest rates is because our European friends have lowered theirs even more. So there's such a discrepancy that we feel that we have to too, because it makes our currency too strong. But I disagree with that, again, because during the Reagan years and the Clinton years, we had, at least part of the time, strong currencies. What's important to know is that our European friends have gone to negative interest rates, and it still has not revived their economies. So Trump, this is a trap that I think he's going into, or maybe stepping into, that he's bashing the Fed to lower interest rates. But I don't think that lowering interest rates necessarily cures a bad economy. Usually if you have low interest rates, it means that there's no demand for credit or a small demand for credit. That's a symptom of problems in some other areas. Now, I don't want to fill this whole vlog up with what those other problems could be. I'm only sounding the alarm bell. That's basically what I'm doing, which is what David Goldman is doing here. In fact, I even emailed David Goldman. He's somebody that I do exchange emails with every so often. I'm not going to, as I said yesterday, I'm not going to reveal any private conversations, but we do correspond. I said, well, in this article, if you read it, most of it is a repeat of an open letter that he wrote to Larry Kudlow some time ago, raising these concerns about the trade war, that it doesn't work, and then suggesting the solution that we should have a quote-unquote Sputnik moment. I remember 1957. That was a shot across the bow of America. Even though I was only about 5 years old, I remember very, very well. It was suddenly the main topic of the day, and this fear that the Soviets were getting ahead of us, and there was a concerted effort to catch up with them. Also, we have to remember, I have to remember because I lived through it, you can look it up, but the first man to orbit the Earth, that was Yuri Gagarin. That was a Russian too, or a Soviet. That got us off the ball. Now today, as Goldman points out, it's 5G and it's quantum computing. And he's suggesting that the real problem is these technological leaps that the Chinese are making. In fact, one of the points that he gets to in his article is that Trump has been browbeating our European allies not to buy the Chinese, the Huawei company, not to buy their 5G system. But the Europeans, they're not listening, they're buying it, and the problem for us is that we don't have 5G technology that we can sell. I'm sure they would rather buy from us, but we don't have it, so we can't compete with them. The other problem he mentions is, or the other technological achievement is quantum computing. Now, Google just made a milestone with quantum computing, but the Chinese are ahead of us, and the danger for us is quantum computing allows you, just the way it works, again, I won't go into a lot of detail, but quantum encryption messages that are encrypted, and I mean specifically top secret classified messages, they're unreadable. This is a code that cannot be broken. The reason it cannot be broken is because the way that quantum computing works, or quantum communication works, is that any attempt to read the message destroys the message, so you can't read it. The logical end to this is that in a very short time, if we don't do anything, the Chinese, with their quantum computing, number one, because of how many times more powerful it is than the computing that we have today, present-day computing, they'll be able to crack all of our codes, and we won't be able to read any of their messages. If the Europeans buy this system, then we won't be able to read any of Europe's encrypted information, classified information either, but they'll be able to read ours. So that is a very real fear. So that's it, a series of warnings. I'm really worried that, well, I'm really worried about these job numbers that are going to come out in 2 days. So we'll see what happens. But if they are bad, then Trump cannot ignore it. He has to really think about what he's going to do in order to guarantee that he gets reelected, because I don't know who's watching my vlog. I don't know everybody's political orientation. So I guess if you're a Democrat, then this is good news for you. But for me, it's not. But I would think that whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, whether you love Trump or hate Trump or anything in between, which is me, I'm in between, that you would not want us to have a bad economy, that you would not want, if you don't like Trump, that you would dislike him so much that you would want people to lose their jobs in order for him to get elected. So that's the warning. I'm starting to ramble, as I sometimes do, so I'm going to end it now. Thanks for stopping by. Thumbs up if you like the video. Share it with anybody that you would think would like the video too. If you got any comments, either agree or disagree, comment section below the video. I would love it if you would subscribe, as I always say that I would love it if you subscribe. And as I also always say, I would be even more delighted, whether you subscribe or not, to see you again. So until I do hopefully see you again, bye.